20 years playing Goofy at Disney World. What's up, guys? Today we're gonna look at an Ask Me Anything from somebody that played 20 years as Goofy. Ask Me Anythings are these things on Reddit where a professional will go on Reddit and people can ask them anything and they will respond. So I found this interesting one. It is basically this guy who worked at Disneyland for 25 years. 20 of those years he spent playing Goofy. So we're gonna check this out right now for the first time. For those of you that wish to preserve your Disney World magic, maybe don't watch this. Then again, you realize, you guys realize that that's not really the characters, right? Anyway, we all know those Disney people that are like 30, which is fine to some degree. But again, I mean, it gets a little weird after a while. We can admit that. If you're like, oh, the Disney like, you guys want to preserve your Disney magic? Do not watch this video because we are going behind the scenes. Let's check this out. So there's this guy who worked at Disney World for 25 years. Now, 5 of those years he spent working different jobs. Like he was a tour guide. I think he worked at like the retail store. At one point he played like a bandit. So he wasn't only Goofy, but to what I know, he was Goofy for 20 years. 20 years. This guy spent most of his formative younger years of his career at Disney World. That's huge. That's experience. Okay, first question. So this guy doesn't work at Disney World anymore. Unfortunately, he was fired, but we will get into that. Are the stereotypes about people who play different characters true? If you're talking about the face performers, the answer is yes and no. Some of the break rooms are like high school cafeterias where the cool princesses, Elsa and Anna, sit on one side. Oh my God. They sit on one side and make eyes at the old characters, Snow White and Mary Poppins. It's really childish. Other face performers think they're on Broadway and demand oh my God. This is the YouTube world. If there's one thing I don't miss from this whole pandemic, it's YouTuber events where someone is in a role and they demand a sort of respect that they haven't quite deserved. YouTubers. The amount of YouTube events I've been to where you walk in the room and everyone's like,
no, you talk to me. Sorry. Who are you again?
It's like you make videos on the floor of your, I mean, so do I. So like, let's bring it down here. Other face performers think they're on Broadway and demand respect, and they hate not getting it. Some of them are the sweetest people I've ever met. And why is Elsa and Anna the cool ones? Is it because of the new ones? If I had to guess the cool ones, I'd say Cinderella. Like Cinderella is like one of the top princesses. She's been around forever. Really? Elsa and Anna are the popular ones. Next question. Yes. I can't believe this is this early on in the Ask Me Anything. Ever bang someone in the costume? He says no. And contrary to popular belief, there aren't many furries in the character department. I know there are a few, but it's not something that's out in the open for sure. Like they would catch on quick. But then there's a side of me that's like, come on, you were there for 20 years. You never once popped on the Goofy head and like, hey, Minnie. Let's just do a poll right now. Guys, if you were in a costume role at Disney, would you ever, comment down below yes or no. I'm for sure yeah. Like for sure yeah. And I wouldn't do it in a way that like, oh, I'm Goofy. I would do it as Dan just with a costume head on. It's just like a cool story. What is the weirdest request that a visitor ever asked you to do? A guy once asked me to choke him for a picture. I didn't. That's a hard one because guests routinely do stupid, weird things. I think the worst of them is when people bring their newborn infants to the park and ask us to hold them for a picture. I can't see shit. Oh, interesting. I actually want to know that. I can't see shit in Goofy, let alone other costumes. And when I'm wearing giant gloves or paws or whatever, depending on the character that I am, why would you let me hold your baby? Don't Disney characters have like a chaperone with them? I don't know. Honestly, I've been to Disney World like twice or 3 times. I don't go for the costume characters. Whereas some people go for autographs. If you're in your 30s and you're still getting the autograph, is that not a character? Like, how we have like blue-haired girl who's always trying to go against the grain? Is there not a Disney girl that's like 30 asking for autographs from these characters? Yeah, that would be weird. You're dressed as Goofy and he's like, choke me. Just choke me for a picture. Oh my God, how did I forget about this? Guys, 5 years ago, I was at Universal Studios. I was walking and in front of me was this guy who had a leash on his wife or girlfriend. Like she wasn't on all fours. People with weird fetishes gravitate towards this. Like, is that really a fetish to get choked out by Goofy? That's one of my fears in life is that I unintentionally developed that, What were your coworkers like? Is everyone filled with the Disney spirit or do people hate their jobs like they're any other job? It's really like any other job. I went through phases myself. At first, every time I farted, pixie dust would blow out of my butt. But after several years, I got kind of bitter. It was all management stuff though. On set, I was fine, loved it, but backstage stress got to me for a while. And I was big on holding Disney accountable. After about 10 years though, I calmed down. 10 years? You were bitter for 10 years? Oh my God. I loved every single minute while on set, for the most part. And some of my coworkers will be my friends for life. You know what I like about this guy? He's not jaded. A lot of people, when they leave a job, especially like he was fired. And a lot of people go into these mindsets of like, oh, them, they did me wrong, and here's all the bad stuff. This guy, even though he's exposing some negative sides to Disney World, he's saying that like he's met some of the best friends of his life. To stay there for 10 years being bitter, he's got the patience of a saint. Is it true that someone gets fired if two of the same characters appear in the same area of the park? Oh yeah, imagine that. I'm about to talk about Santa. So if you guys have that magic still alive, how? Like, how? But I'm about to talk about Santa. There's 2 times I realized Santa was fake. One was a Christmas. I woke up and I went to my living room and there was a new TV. It was this big fat TV with a VHS thing attached to it. And it was for my mom. And it said, "To Mom, enjoy the TV, love Santa." But it was printed on our printer. And the way I could tell was because we were sort of running out of ink. So like the blue was like, it was like a gradient blue. And I'm like, like he's allowed to come in our house. I get that. Like I've accepted that. But is he allowed to use our printer? And wouldn't we hear like, it was the same clip art and font that I used to use for my school project. So I'm like, I'm pretty sure my mom did that herself. That was the first time. Second time, mall Santas. Guys, I just tweeted about this. If you're gonna go down the route of being Santa, don't cheap out. Don't have this like shiny ass, cheap ass beard that is like sort of off to the side. Clearly you see the strings, like put effort. A lot of kids believe in this and you're gonna go in and just have this aesthetic as Santa. You're not helping the case, you know? The fat, like a lot of them put on this fake fat with pillows. It's like, it's so obvious. Do kids not realize that like, why is Santa's beard hanging off his chin like half of these anti-maskers? Oh. I've met my double on set by accident a few times over the years. It happens to the best of us, but it was just that, an accident. The only way someone would get fired, I'm only guessing here, is if they did it on purpose. Look, I appreciate what Disney does. They keep the magic alive. They keep this youthfulness in kids, and they provide magic. And I'm a big believer of that. I don't think kids are meant to be magicians. I think they're meant to enjoy it until like age 13. And then it's like, it's okay. Like if my kid, when he's 7, says he wants to be a magician, I'm like, you're too young. Is that weird? I just think as a kid, you have the lack of experience to believe in this type of magic. So let it thrive, live it before it gets destroyed. Oh my God, this is the most depressing, anti-inspirational speech I've ever done. How do you survive on really hot days? Practice, actually. It was absolute torture the first month, and especially the first parade. But after a few months, I got used to it. And after a few years, I would forget I had the costume on. See what I mean? Like it's a slow development behind the scenes. He has the costume on and eventually he starts to think he's Goofy. Guys, I feel like I've embodied Goofy already and it's the worst trait about me. I'm just like, hey, you guys want to do some sort of DIY? Like it's an annoying trait. I get it. And I'm working on it, okay? I've also heard that a lot of these costumes have fans. Like I remember in high school, they got a new mascot costume and it was like a hockey helmet, but it had a fan. I mean, I don't know if it did much, but at least it would circulate the air to some degree. What's the strangest thing you saw in the back of house areas? Ooh. Oh my God. I can go on for days about that. One thing that stands out was a special event where they needed 16 Mickeys all set out in various rooms, and seeing all of them backstage was really weird. Imagine going into a room and there's 16 Mickeys all just going like, "We've been waiting for you." Like that's nightmare fuel. That's underwhelming. I thought there'd be a lot more. I once heard that there's like a Disney jail. I'm pretty sure there is. And that like the size of the park that you see and that you as a guest can experience, I've heard that there's an even bigger behind the scenes. And there's tunnels to get characters from different places. What's the worst child-adult tantrum you've witnessed? I once saw an adult beat the absolute living shit out of a preteen boy on set as the Queen of Hearts. We're told never to interact when something like this happens, so I had to leave. I've seen tons and tons of guests lose their shit in guest relations, particularly when it involved people not getting their way. In 2020, we've really highlighted the Karen. We've made it a character, but the Karen has been around like forever. It's just now we've got the resources to film it and like do something with the footage. You know, I remember as a teenager, I worked at a shoe store. Well, I worked at a sports store. I sold shoes, and people would come in with the dumbest, like it would be like, you know, I've been wearing my shoe, it got grass stained. Or I've been wearing this shoe and the sole is starting to deteriorate. It's a shoe. Don't play soccer with it. I was a camp counselor once for a soccer camp, and I had a mom get mad at me that her kid was coming home with grass stains. You're sending your kid to soccer camp. Again, sort of an underwhelming answer. Do you prefer parents playing it straight or interacting with you in character, so to speak? For the most part, I appreciate when parents would stay in character. I hated when people would tell their kids, "It's just a guy in a suit, don't be scared," which scares kids even more. What I didn't like was when they would drill me with trivia questions and make me act out the answers. Honestly, from reading these, I would say this guy did a great job. He did a great job as character. He did a great job at being what I think Disney wants their employees to be. You know, he's got the opportunity to expose a lot of things, and he still says that he loved the job. He loved the people he worked with. Okay, finally, we're gonna get to how this guy got fired. So this guy works there for 20, we got to accept that 25 years. That's no small number. Basically, this guy was fired after an incident. All the more reason for him to be jaded towards Disney World, but he's not. He says, "I was fired." To make a complicated story short, Donald Duck was, as usual, being a jerk and wouldn't leave my area because I had signed love Goofy right over the bill of a Donald Duck hat. He threw a temper tantrum, and I was dragging him across the floor to get him back to his position as a little kid ran out from behind a curtain at Pete's Silly Sideshow, and we knocked her on her butt. The kid was fine and no one complained, but Disney really didn't appreciate me dragging the costume on the carpeted floor, so they terminated me. Imagine that. After everything we've just heard, the way he gets fired was by dragging Donald Duck across a carpet. Okay, look, I hope I didn't kill the Disney magic for some of you guys. I did give the disclaimer at the start, so you didn't have to watch. But you know what? In my free time, I actually read these Ask Me Anythings. They are incredibly interesting. This is a perfect example. This guy was not like, oh, Disney, I hate Disney. It was like, you know, I had my time there. It was fun. Here's the issues, but here's also the great things that came with it. Anyways, there you guys have it. Just like throwing it out there. If any of you guys have worked at Disney World or Disneyland, please comment down below because I actually have some additional questions. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I know in my last video, I talked about the designer cookies that I'm doing. Here's the latest one. This is the Gucci cookie. If you guys want to see those, go over to my Instagram at Danocracy. You can see some of my art there. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't, and I'll see you guys next week in my next video. See you guys later.